Hello and welcome to a special series, The Mentors. I'm Shireen Bhan. As part of the build-up to our 10th India Business Leader Awards, the team at CNBC TV 18 has created a platform for the youth and Gen Y entrepreneurs to interact with business leaders and industrialists that are turning tables and creating a storm in the market. In today's episode, two students from IIT Delhi get to interact with PepsiCo India CEO D Shivakumar and the CFO Kimsuka Narasimhan. From technical questions to personal ones, ranging from channeling the right investors to Shivakumar's own growth story, our students asked all of this and much more. Let's take a look.
Our first student is Sahil Kapoor, a biotechnologist by profession, currently finishing his MBA at the Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. Sahil works as a director at Novo Informatics, a spin-off company from IIT. Student number 2 is Rahul Jain, who is currently a research student at IIT Delhi. Rahul has worked for about 8 years in the field of communications.
What is the right time to get a new investor in the company when you already have an existing investor? And following it would be to know more about how to maintain the equalized relationship between these two investors, because sometimes you see there come a lot of glitches comes between two investors. So how to maintain that?
Yeah, so before I answer the question, delighted to meet the two young entrepreneurs. So all the very best in your efforts. Specifically on your question, there are two parts. The first is, what is an ideal point in time to introduce a second investor when there's one already on board? I'd say you'll have to examine your need for funds, especially equity funds, which of course is related to your expansion plans, the need for cash as you go forward. And if you find that it is an appropriate time from the need for funds perspective, right time to introduce a second investor.
Okay.
The next part of your question is, how do you ensure equity between, or an equitable, should we say, equation between the first and the second investor? Some arrangements do specify this. So your first investor may have written down in his term sheet the need for him to get as good as, if not a better deal than the second investor, should you choose to induct a second investor at some point. So if there is a written down clause, then you're already bound by it.
Right.
If not, what you should look at is, obviously the first investor has come in at a different point in time in relation to the risk scenario as the second. So a differential risk would obviously mean a differential reward. So you've got to look at the risk reward scenarios existing at the first point and the second point and take a view as to what should be the equation for the second investor coming in.
Majorly in the term sheets we see to some point investor has a veto power in deciding the dividend amount of dividend being floated out every year. So do you think that that's a right option which has been given to investor, or should co-founders, especially in startups, should void out this kind of a veto power of dividend in the hands of investor?
Strictly speaking, an investor should, if he's happy with the growth and the rate of return on his investment, should be happier letting the money stay with the business in its growth phase, and then when it reaches a certain maturity to take the dividend out. But some other investors may like a good balance between regular withdrawals of cash versus simply banking on future growth. So again, that's a kind of discussion you need to have and a decision you need to come to right at the start.
So from a startup perspective, how can a company in its initial stages evaluate itself? And there's always a balance to be stricken between the shares or the equity to be floated and the money. So how can a company strike the right balance between the equity and the money?
The valuation of any business is lots of science and lots of art as well. The science comes because they're very well established valuation models, whether it's a multiple of projected revenue, multiple of projected earnings, or to take a 10-year period and discount it to a net present value. So you can take your pick of the valuation models, and that's the science. The R is, of course, knowing what should be the projections, the estimates, and the future forecasts, because the science very much depends on that. So that's the valuation. And once you've determined the valuation, the money that a prospective investor is going to bring in, the percentage equity that you're going to award to the investor, very much depends on the valuation that you arrive at.
So what are the factors that should decide the incoming of an investor into an organization?
You mean at what point in time
Yes.
would you bring an investor in? I'd say a couple of factors would determine it. One is your need for funds and the availability of funds. But if you find that the future projections and the cash needs of your business are such that you need to induct an external investor, then you must be able to find a willing investor. Yeah. So the risk perception of your industry, your business model, and yourself become an important feature in deciding whether there are investors who are willing to come in.
After their technically driven conversation with the CFO, the two students from IIT Delhi get up close and personal with PepsiCo India CEO D Shivakumar.
Hi, wonderful to see you guys.
It's a great honor talking to you in this discussion. I'm Rahul Jain. I'm a student at IIT Delhi who's looking forward for making my career in entrepreneurship. I'm being accompanied by Sahil Kapoor from Novo Informatics.
Hi Shiv, how are you?
Absolutely fine, thank you.
I'm a final year MBA student at IIT Delhi.
Okay.
And I'm an entrepreneur running a company which deals in pharmaceutical consulting past 4 years.
Okay.
And first of all, I would say it's an honor to have a discussion with you
My
today.
pleasure.
And since we would be discussing more on the entrepreneurship and how your journey has been, so we would like to take tips on that, which can be helpful for us as well as most of the entrepreneurs from India also. Starting with the conversation, since you worked with HUL, PepsiCo, and Philips Evans, I would like to know how was your journey throughout these companies, since we have FMCG, telecom, and the consumer electronic company even. So all three different domains, different sectors. So how was the journey all through?
I would say in any career, I think you should not plan your career, more like you should prepare for it. So when you start early, my intent was to do something in marketing and to be known for something in marketing. So you develop skills and everything in that area and read up everything there and do something of impact to the brands. Then you say, yeah, maybe I can be a director of a mid-sized company. Okay, then you think about what are the qualities required, okay, what are the capabilities required to be an effective director. And then you say, yeah, maybe I can be a CEO. Okay, so then if I can be a CEO or even have pretensions of being a CEO, then what is that a CEO does well and what is it the CEO needs to be doing? And then you start preparing on those dimensions. So in my book, a lot of people make the mistake of saying, I want to be a VP at 40, I want to be a general manager at 35. Those are all the wrong milestones. And those milestones trip you, because a good success in terms of a long-term career is about 20 to 25 years. So you must have the patience for a career. Okay, so a career is a marathon effort, it's not a sprint.
Right.
And that marathon effort, you need to have the endurance to prepare for it so that you really, meet your goals.
And what kind of innovation models have been worked for you in all these different sectors, or there is only one single innovation model for you which works all time for managing innovations?
No, I think each industry and each category has its own challenges. The context is important. Okay, an FMCG will be very different from a technology product, will be very different from a durable product, will be very different from a commodity product. Mm-hmm. Okay, a B2B business will be very different from a B2C business. Okay, an online business will be very different from a physical business. Okay, so innovation has to be tailored to the context of your company and the industry. But one general lesson I would say, if I look at the last 10 years, I think no one company can go it alone in terms of innovation. You need an ecosystem and you need effective partnerships in the ecosystem. So if you are in the cell phone business, you would need the operator with you. Okay, maybe you need the app developer with you. If you are in the soft drinks business, you need the quick service restaurants with you. You need the out of home channel with you.
Right.
Okay, you need the cinema channel with you. Okay, so you have to really start thinking about ecosystems as opposed to doing innovation on your own.
As a leader, a challenging task is to keep the team together towards a common objective. It becomes a problem when people with same repute and knowledge actually have a very different opinion. So as a leader, how do you think a leader can handle situations like this?
Yeah, it is a difficult one, because the most intelligent people make a mistake of putting themselves ahead of their team. So in my book, what's always worked, I've seen a lot of great leaders in this country and outside, and what's really worked for me is, whatever decision you take, you must really look at it from the concept of, is this the best decision for the company? That's your first filter. Is this the best decision for the company? The second decision is it the best for the team? And the third is it the best decision for myself? Okay, and many people flip that order. Okay, because we live in an age in a media which celebrates individual heroism. Nobody puts a team on the cover or a team on a program to say, team number one. Very rarely do people do that. They always put the hero who's the CEO. CEO is just one part of a team. If the company wins, everybody else wins. But if the individual wins, it's not necessary that the company wins. So the ability to constantly build the institution is very, very important. And if you look at India as an example, the army is a great institution. Right. Okay, the judiciary is a great institution. So every time you build an institution, everybody benefits. Because when you build an institution, there's immense pride internally about that institution. And that pride drives a lot of productivity, it drives a lot of energy, enthusiasm and innovation. When you build an institution, there is external trust in the institution. Okay, so building an institution is possibly the biggest challenge for a CEO. And he really needs like-minded people at the top in his team and colleagues for him to do it. A CEO alone cannot do that. Right. The top 10% of managers in a company can truly shape this institution building.
From a startup perspective, how can a company undertake a market research for absolutely a new product, especially when it does not have the resources to hire third parties?
I don't think there's any, let's take any magic formula for this. The problem you describe is true, which is new to the world products. In 1991, a cell phone was a new to the world product. Okay, and there was lots of research done by very reputed consultants which said that the total market for cell phone was some 5 million units or something, 50 million units, sorry. Today we have 5.2 billion cell phones in people's hands. So new to the world products are very, very difficult to judge, etc. And that's where that great entrepreneurial spirit and insight comes into effect, to say, I believe in it, I believe I can make a go of it. When Google archived the whole information world, they started by archiving information in a library. Okay, but suddenly they saw the potential of how big this can be. Equally, a new to the world product like Iridium, which is the satellite phone, was a complete no-no, because you have to go outside and point it to the sky and work. So it had some basic flaws in it. So when you are new to the world product, it is a difficult thing. There's no easy answer there. And I think your belief in the product and your constant ability to improve the product, to take away the negatives and magnify the impact of the product, I think that's the key.
So like many a times, like I would share my experience, like what product we have is an upward advantage to the existing products, but the competitors are 10 years old, established very well in the market. So what can be the tips you can give us where you can actually convince the customer about using our product?
If you come from behind, you must always have a superior product. Okay, because people who've been there ahead of you for 10 years have legacy, have a certain amount of trust, have a certain amount of reputation. Okay, so you have to come with a product which is significantly superior. So in any test, your product should be winning 60-40 against anybody else. If you come with a parity product which is 50-50, you'll put a lot more money in to counter the trust and the belief in your predecessors. Second one is rethink your business model completely. Okay, because competitors are boxed in by their past success. They'll be unwilling to try new things. Since you are new, and if you have a superior product, try a different variable in the business model. That's worth it. And the third, any business, big or small, one thing you must always have is very highly talented people working for you.
Right.
Okay. The advantage of big companies is size, okay, legacy, process. The advantage of small companies is nimbleness, speed, okay, founders mentality. You cannot create an entrepreneurial or a founders mentality in a large company. It's a difficult one, but it's evidently possible in a small company.
Right.
Okay, and you should tap into the power of that to really do well. Today technology is available, capital is available, and people are available. So today the big company doesn't beat the small company. It's the fast company which beats the slow company.
A lot of initiatives have been taken recently in India, like NASSCOM and Google coming up in a one venture together and funding up all the integrated related IT product companies and all. So do you think companies like telecom sectors from the FMCG sectors are getting into that league of funding and nurturing startups from the India?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. See, for a number of years, our policy has been to promote and protect small scale. And we've always seen, right or wrong, rhetoric or no, or stated or unstated, we have pitted small versus big. I don't think that will work in a future world. It will be small and big working together as one unit. Okay, the small companies can pick up a lot of the skills, a lot of the technology, and can effectively partner with large companies. Large companies, by doing this, can actually take a number of items of their balance sheet and their cost structure can be significantly trimmer. Okay, that combination of a small and a large company is possibly a better strategy and a winning one compared to small versus big. Okay, so that's where I am right now. And Germany is a great example of that.
Right.
Germany automotive sector is a fantastic example of that. We also have examples of that in Tamil Nadu. The automotive industry, the person who makes the radiator, the person who makes the lights, the person who makes the brake lining, they're all small companies which then finally come together. Okay, so there is immense potential.
So do you think we can have another Silicon Valley itself in India?
It is already happening. So I said this a few years ago that India will be the superpower of the app world.
Right.
Okay, I think I said this in 2009 or 10. If I actually take that statement and see what's happening right now, you have a lot of app developers between Bangalore, Hyderabad, Gurgaon. Okay, these three are centers which are already happening. Okay, and the app world really, pays homage to high quality talent, and people, 5 people sitting in a room can really change the world in terms of the apps and what you can do. So it is already happening, and India has immense potential in that area, immense.
What other parameters do you think can be used to understand whether the startup is doing well, or it is the time to wrap up or not move ahead with the ventures? So what can be the good parameters to look for?
I think, startups take time. There is a gestation period, etc. The first thing is, whatever business plan you drew up, whatever assumptions you started with, are you meeting them? Is that coming true? If that's not coming true, then scrap it. So if you go to Silicon Valley, people restate their strategy every Saturday. They look at it, not working, change the strategy. Continuing with a poor strategy based on poor assumptions is the worst thing that an entrepreneur should do. Okay, next is, I think, what really drives entrepreneurs is energy and wanting to make a difference. Okay, if you truly believe and that's still there in the company, you should continue. If that starts flagging and then the shoulders start drooping, then you're gone. Okay, so I would say check your assumptions, check your business plan, check your funding. Okay, because the quality of life you started off before you being an entrepreneur is what you would like to maintain at some point.
Right.
So there are a number of factors which go into it, but I would say the critical thing is the hunger and the passion which brought you to the table. Is it still alive, and are you progressing in the right direction? If it's there, you can still make it happen. The moment you start realizing yourself, things flag off, then you say, hey, this doesn't work. The only message I have for all you entrepreneurs is, if you succeed, India will flourish and do great stuff. It's not the large company which is going to change this country. It's the entrepreneurs who are going to create the big jobs and the big value in the next 20 years.
A truly inspiring journey and some very wise words of advice that come with experience. Thank you very much to D Shivakumar for being a part of this special series. Join us next week as country head and CEO at HSBC India, Nainalal Kidwai dons the hat of a mentor. Until then, from the entire team, many thanks for watching.
It was very, it was not at all formal. It was so casual that I was able to open up my heart to Mr. Shivakumar and get insights into all those questions and confusions that I had in my heart.
First of all, I would say meeting a leader at a global scale, at a big scale, I mean, that's something very different. I never dreamed of that I'll be meeting the CEO of PepsiCo and Shivakumar, and I would say, I mean, he's highly energetic, phenomenal, up to mark, professional, and that's the key qualities in the leader which I'm taking with me at home today.